among the stars. Let me see what spring is like on Jupiter and Mars.
750 here, Big 550 KTRS. His new book is called No Dream is Too High, Life Lessons from a Man Who Walked on the Moon. Buzz Aldrin, welcome to the Big 550 KTRS here in St. Louis. Buzz Aldrin, are you there? Houston, we have a problem. Buzz Aldrin. Buzz Aldrin, over and out. Are you there, Buzz?
I checked in with him.
All right. I can hear him breathing.
Buzz
Aldrin, can you hear me?
St. Louis?
Yes.
I'm standing by.
You got it, Buzz Aldrin. Thank you very much for joining us. Welcome to Big 550 KTRS. All right. He's not hearing us. So
I heard the music play a little bit.
We've got something. Buzz, check 1 2. Houston, do you copy? Houston, do you copy? Houston, over. Do you copy? Buzz Aldrin here.
Hey, it's St. Louis.
Buzz, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Buzz,
sure
you can hear me?
Yes,
okay,
of course.
Good. I'm sorry. Thanks for joining us. Your book, No Dream Too High. You have been very, very honest and open about some of your disappointments throughout your life, and we'll get to some of that. But one of the things reading this book, you tell people is Ed White, who died on the launch pad at Apollo 1, you never had a chance to thank him for what he did for you.
Well, yeah, I tried to. He was a year behind me at West Point, and we went to Madison Square Garden to compete for West Point. He was a high hurdler. I was a pole vaulter. So later on, after Korea, I went to Europe to get into a fighter squadron, and there he was. And he got me into the best squadron. They're still having reunions now. So he left and got his master's degree, went through test pilot school, and he called me on the phone. He says, NASA's looking for some more astronauts in 1962. He says, I'm going to apply. And I said, Ed, I can shoot gunnery better than you. I'll apply too, because I'm working on rendezvous techniques here at MIT. Well, I didn't fit the rules by being trained as a test pilot. So he was selected, and I wasn't. But you think that's going to stop me? No. I kept telling them. And finally, they gave in, and I became an astronaut in 1963. I pioneered underwater training, neutral buoyancy. On my first flight, the last one in the Gemini program, I wasn't scheduled to be part of that, but a tragedy opened up. We have to allow for failures, and it propelled me into a great opportunity that led to a position in Apollo, and unfortunately Ed paid for his talents by being scheduled for the first Apollo flight, but unfortunately they had a tragic fire and all three of them were killed.
Yeah.
It'll be 50 years since that happened, 1 week after the next president is inaugurated.
Wow.
On my birthday, January 20th. Now, we have a lot to do to catch up, and the private sector is going to lead things, but not by themselves. They're going to be financed. They're going to be subsidized by the government, but the government should advise them and not compete with them. We've got rocket companies that are designing rockets based on old techniques, and that's a government designing a rocket, and it's competing with the private sector. That's not the way we should do things.
Buzz Aldrin, never shy about telling you what he thinks. His new book is No Dream Too High, Life Lessons from a Man Who Walked on the Moon. Buzz Aldrin, you were the second man to walk on the moon, but is it true that you were the first man to go to the bathroom on the moon?
Yeah, there wasn't a bathroom up there. There was just a urine collection device strapped around my waist, but it was empty. So I got down to the bottom of the ladder, and it was easy to move around. So I took a couple of seconds to do what is kind of naturally. I exercised the urine collection device.
Yeah, I would expect nothing less. You have been very open about the fact that they changed protocol to make Neil Armstrong the first out, and that you had a hard time dealing with that for years.
No, that's not really true. there were a number of people within NASA in Houston that had been observing previous spacewalks, and it was always the junior person because the commander had a very, very heavy workload. So there were people that thought that, and there were other people that thought about MacArthur being the first to walk ashore in the Philippines, and leaders lead their people by doing things first. I haven't checked with Columbus first, but I think he probably was the first guy in the New World. So there's a good reason for a lot of things, and we should openly discuss them. And we did and made the right decision.
The book is called No Dream Too High. Buzz Aldrin, we haven't been back to the moon since you and your fellow astronauts left in the early 70s. When you look up at the moon today, what goes through your mind?
Well, if you saw the movie 30 Rock, Tina Fey and I looked up at the moon and shook our fist, my fist, and I says, "I walked on your face." Well, we look at things differently. Fly Me to the Moon was very famous. We got a new slogan by Arnold Schwarzenegger in Total Recall, "Get your ass to Mars." We need a song for that.
Ladies and gentlemen, he is an American hero, a true American hero. He has walked on the surface of the moon, and his new book is called No Dream is Too High, Life Lessons from a Man Who Walked on the Moon. Mr. Buzz Aldrin, I've got 1 minute left. We've had From the Earth to the Moon, the HBO series. We had Apollo 13, the movie from Ron Howard. We've had a sort of a rediscovery of what you guys did. Do those capture, in a sense, what it was like?
Science fiction is mostly fantasy. I wrote a very technically correct science fiction, but it's not all that popular. The Martian, the movie, was a very good, but it's not too practical. We're not going to leave people stranded no matter what. We're going to start leaving people there, and at least we'll keep Mars occupied all the time. That's not what the plans are right now. They go out to Mars, and there is no redundancy to that big maneuver. When we went to the moon, we were on a free return trajectory. There's no free return going to Mars. If you don't get what you're looking for, even down to 80%, you'll be in solar orbit. No rescue. Now, my cycling spacecraft has at least dual redundancy, sometimes triple redundancy, and much greater capacity to get people to the surface of Mars. That's out-of-the-box thinking. And I started doing that in 1985, and it's been improved and improved. And I'm sure we're going to do that, and I've looked at ways to get back to the moon. Now, we're going to do that to learn things, but we're going to help the Europeans and the Russians and the Japanese, and it'll be so good a way that the Chinese will join us in a global lunar consortia of the nations that are capable of doing that. And we should be planning to help and concentrate our resources on transportation, Earth to Mars.
Buzz Aldrin, a true American hero. No Dream is Too High. The new book. Sir, thank you very much for your time this morning.
Thank you so much for being there.
You got it. 7:50.